The U.S.-Iran peace process entered a more uncertain phase on Thursday as fresh security concerns in the Strait of Hormuz, disagreements over key terms of the framework agreement and conflicting statements from both sides threatened to complicate negotiations. While Washington and Tehran continue to prepare for technical talks under the 60-day memorandum, a reported attack on a commercial vessel, disputes over shipping routes and funding arrangements, and growing regional concerns have underscored how fragile the ceasefire remains. U.S. President Donald Trump said Washington plans to use part of Iran's unfrozen assets to purchase American wheat, soybeans, and corn for Iran, claiming the country faces food shortages and describing it as a major new export market for U.S. farmers. Speaking at the White House, Trump said the process would begin soon and would involve large purchases of American agricultural products.
Opening markets to the American exports, and all over the world we're opening up markets for the farmers. We have another one, a new market coming up, and that's called the lovely country of Iran. It's a beautiful place. Would anybody like to go there? The Islamic Republic of Iran, they're having a hard time with food, and we're going to be taking some of their money and we'll spend it, and we're going to be buying wheat, soybeans, and corn, a lot of it. And that process is going to be starting pretty soon. It's going to be pretty big, too. I think it's going to be very big.
Iran swiftly rejected the claim, with chief negotiator Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf saying Tehran, not Washington, would determine how its unfrozen assets are spent, dismissing the proposal as false. The UN's International Maritime Organization, IMO, temporarily suspended its operation to escort hundreds of stranded vessels out of the Strait of Hormuz after a Singapore-flagged cargo ship was struck by a suspected drone near Oman. U.S. officials accused Iran of carrying out the attack, while Tehran warned that vessels using routes not approved by Iranian authorities would not be guaranteed safe passage. The IMO said the damaged vessel was not part of its evacuation program, but paused operations to reassess security conditions. The incident briefly pushed oil prices about 2% higher, renewing concerns over the stability of the shipping corridor despite the recent ceasefire agreement. Iran's Revolutionary Guards warned that only shipping routes designated by Tehran are authorized for transit through the Strait of Hormuz, saying vessels that ignore the guidance will be dealt with. The warning appeared to be aimed at a temporary shipping corridor announced by Oman, which was coordinated with the International Maritime Organization. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and Oman's Foreign Minister Badr al-Busaidi later agreed to continue coordinating maritime arrangements during the 60-day negotiation period. Despite tensions, shipping activity has increased significantly this week, with crude exports reaching their highest daily levels since the war began. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told Gulf leaders that Washington wants a lasting agreement with Iran but not at any price, stressing that no part of any deal should undermine Gulf security.
It's important to point to a couple of things that are a priority to us. For while we want a deal, we don't want a deal at any price. We want a deal that's good, we want a deal that's real, we want a deal that's verifiable, and we want a deal that's adhered to. And it is important that any agreements that are reached, both in the process of negotiation and in the aftermath, be adhered to and followed.
Rubio firmly rejected Iran's proposal to introduce service fees or tolls for vessels using the Strait of Hormuz, arguing that international waterways cannot be subjected to national charges.
Fees and tolls are the same thing to me. Okay? If you're paying someone to go there, I don't care if you call it a fee or a toll or a donation, it's a toll. That's how we're going to define it. That's international waterway. There isn't a nation on earth that supports having to pay money to go through the straits.
Oman also signaled that current temporary arrangements do not include transit fees, while Gulf states reaffirmed their opposition to any toll system. Foreign ministers from Gulf Cooperation Council countries said any lasting agreement must also address Iran's ballistic missile program, drones, and support for regional proxy groups. In a joint statement, they stressed that future economic engagement with Tehran would remain conditional on Iran fully complying with its commitments and respecting regional security. President Trump defended ongoing negotiations with Iran while requesting nearly $88 billion in supplemental funding from Congress, largely to cover the cost of the conflict. The request comes as the war continues to weigh on Trump politically, with opinion polls showing only 1 in 4 Americans believe the conflict was worth its cost.
And yesterday we also called on Congress to pass a supplemental funding bill that will provide $11 billion in relief towards specialty crops and helping our great agricultural producers rebound from the losses that they had due to the Biden administration's horrible rules and regulations.
Trump has maintained that negotiations are progressing well despite persistent disagreements over sanctions, nuclear inspections, shipping arrangements, and financial incentives. The preliminary agreement establishes a 60-day negotiating period to resolve more difficult issues, including Iran's nuclear program, sanctions relief, and long-term arrangements for the Strait of Hormuz. However, fresh security incidents, conflicting public statements, and unresolved disagreements over implementation continue to test confidence in the framework, leaving the future of the ceasefire dependent on progress in the next round of negotiations. While both Washington and Tehran remain publicly committed to the framework agreement, Thursday's developments highlighted the significant obstacles that remain before a permanent settlement can be reached. With security concerns returning to the Strait of Hormuz and negotiations expected to tackle the most contentious issues in the coming weeks, markets and regional governments will be closely watching whether the fragile ceasefire can withstand mounting political and diplomatic pressure.